Jesus, my God. I was just talking about you a little bit. How you feeling, brother? You good? Nice to see you, man. Robert Redford, my son. How you feeling, man? You good?
Yeah,
over at University of Alabama. This is my guy, Coach Rob Vaughn. I love this guy. And the crazy part is, guys, a lot of people when they come on these tours and things like that, you might just have been meeting somebody for the first time and you kind of got to play corporate roles and stuff like that. Thank God I've known this guy for over, again, a decade, maybe more.
Yeah.
He was, when he actually, he's right now in the SEC over here. It's a beautiful school, but when I first met him, he was a recruiting coordinator at University of Maryland. And he had even back then, we always had a good relationship, always tried to send him players and things like that. But I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for having us be able to take the tour over here at University of Alabama, find out a little bit more about how you guys do things. So far, all the facilities that Papio took us through are just out of control, all next level. It's a different level of like big than you see in most, there's nice college, everybody in colleges has pretty nice stuff, across the board, but this is like a different level of everything. When was the move from when you took the job over here? How long have you been at University of Alabama?
So I just finished my first year here. So I got the job last June. So yeah, finished up 11 years in Maryland and shifted down here.
Nice. Was there any changes like to your overall philosophy or no?
Yeah, I mean, maybe some in the minutia. Coach Saban across the street used to say it all the time, man, the dinosaurs didn't adapt, so they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
So I think you're constantly having to adapt, change, do some of that, but at the same time, man, we're here for a reason. Greg Byrne, our athletic director, hired our staff to come down here for a reason. And so I think the central core, and like you said, you know me for 10 years, our central theme from the rip has been people. You know, and you see it. There's big facilities, there's nice facilities. Everywhere in this league has nice facilities. It's not really what it's about, man. It's still about the people. And it doesn't matter if you're in high school, it doesn't matter if you're in travel baseball, it doesn't matter if you're in college, it doesn't matter if you're in the SEC, it doesn't matter. It's all about the right people. And so from that standpoint, nothing's changed. Now I think how we do things maybe a little bit, the people you compete against, you get drawn in, man. It's really easy down here when you go an hour and a half down the road to Starkville and you see Duty Noble and you've got LSU a couple hours away and you're competing against these guys. It's really easy to get sucked into, man, one, to feel like you have to keep up and do that. But, man, every coach I've talked to in this league, and I've talked to a lot of the really good ones last year, just ask them for advice as a young coach coming in, and it's, man, Rob, you're here for a reason. Don't change who you are. Don't change what you do. And so trying to hold to that and, man, just get the best people around here I can.
What was the most, some of the things that attracted you to making the decision to move? I mean, it's a big move. You're moving through your whole family. I know you got a family in a different part of the country. It's a lot of stuff that goes on with that. Was there something, the idea of coaching in the SEC or something about Alabama itself that said, no, I think this is a challenge I'm gonna take on?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, we finished 2000. What year was that? 2023, and we just won the Big Ten at Penn State.
Yeah.
And I got in the car on the way home. I was with my wife. We were heading back from State College. And I got a text from Greg Byrne, the AD here, just saying, hey, I would love to chat with you. And at the time, I'm like, man, Alabama's a football school. I don't know if that's what I want to do. But anytime that happens, it's like, man, I want to have a conversation. Let's see where it goes. And I remember walking downstairs in my basement. I talked to Greg on the phone for probably about 30 or 45 minutes. And man, I left that conversation with this guy's different. I had a great relationship with Damon Evans, the AD at Maryland. He always treated me awesome. Him and I had a great working relationship.
How long were you at Maryland?
11 years.
Yeah, I thought that you were all Maryland out. That was it.
And you take some heat when you make a move, because I think in my mind, you asked the question, the SEC was never the pull for me.
Yeah.
I loved Maryland. It's where my kids were born. It's where I got my first opportunity. I loved the people. Obviously, my boy Swope's the head coach there now. Me and him were together there for 11 years.
Yeah, shout out Swoper.
My man. And so it was tough. Like, leaving that was not an easy thing, and I wasn't looking to leave just to leave. It had to be the right situation. It had to be somebody that I felt like could be kind of a career type move for you, where a place you felt like you could go and you could ride this thing out at. And after spending some time with Greg on the phone, man, the leader he is, the way he communicates, it lines so well with the things I care about and the things I believe in. And I got off that phone with him and I walked back upstairs and told Kaylee, my wife, I said, babe, we might be going to Tuscaloosa. And then I interviewed with him about a week and a half later, and it was just awesome. It felt right. And as much as Maryland in a lot of ways still feels like home to me, it was the right move at the right time for my family.
Sure.
And I feel like it's been confirmed since we've been here. And once a week there's something that pops, but the reason we're here is not the SEC, it's not the facility, it's not this. Very honestly, it's Greg Byrne and who he is and how he leads something. It's just a guy I really wanted to work for.
Awesome. So a couple of quick questions about still the level of guys that you're looking at, because I feel like that's one of the biggest changes is that obviously having a national recruiting base, with a school like this, it seems like you have a far more reach. Like kids from way further would want to come here. Sure. But I remember going back to when we met 10 years ago when I was working for another regular travel baseball place. It wasn't my own. I was just getting my feet wet too.
Oh, I remember.
And I was trying to find players for you to recruit. And you were out there just, networking, everything like that. And one of the first conversations I had with you, I remember it still to this day because it always left a lasting impact on me. You said, Furbs, we met at Maryland, this and that. He goes, and I was saying, I might have a couple of guys. And he said, Furbs, tell me, who's the toughest guy on your team? And I was trying to figure out, I was like, tough, you mean like how? Like fight tough in a fist fight? Or yeah, like you're like, who's the guy that actually is first guy to the dugout? And I was like, man, I thought this guy was gonna ask me about like who hits homers and do this and that. But it was really eye-opening for me. I was like, oh wait, I need to find tough high school kids if I'm gonna get them recruited. They just can't. And then you even said, yeah, I'm all done like recruiting showcase toolsy players that don't compete. And I was like, oh, okay, that actually made a pretty big argument. So do you keep that same philosophy now, or has it changed? Are you looking for more physical guys, or it's not like, how has the recruiting changed as far as the overall spectrum of the profile of the athlete?
I think what you said is right on. I think that script A that we have is recognizable everywhere in different countries. I mean, I can't tell you the place that we go and you hear Roll Tide everywhere from people. You'll be walking down the street in Maryland and somebody will hit you with a Roll Tide. It's everywhere, which is awesome. It's really, and you can really draw from the national level. But the way we look at it hasn't changed. I mean, you have to have talent. That's just plain and simple. You cannot, I don't care if you're the toughest, if you're the best kid in the world, if you throw 65 miles an hour and can't spin a breaking ball, it's going to be really hard for us to recruit you. But I think the idea that we've had is, man, you take this talent, and then there's this, my favorite author, his name's Simon Sinek. He says this thing where he says, man, it's not your job to do business with everybody. It's your job to do business with people that believe what you believe. And that's been what it is, man. We believe in toughness. And toughness is not pound your chest, flip your bat 20 feet in the air and do that. Toughness is, how do you respond when things aren't going right? How do you respond when adversity hits? How do you do that? That's what true toughness is. So that's what we try to do, is take this giant pool of really talented players and then filter it through the lens of what do we do? When, the law of attraction, right? Like attracts like. Filtering it through, man, are these the right fit for us? And that's not easy, and that takes a lot of time. And luckily I have 3 assistants that are unbelievable at what they do and spend countless hours trying to navigate that. But you see that especially in the world of the transfer portal, right?
Yeah.
Like it happens fast, and shoot, us, we're relationship people.
Yeah.
But that relationship is having to get built like that. And so, man,
how has that impacted the way that you guys overall recruit? I mean, you kind of, like you said, you have to adapt. It'd be nice to stay stuck in how it used to be, but it's not how it used to be.
No doubt. And I think there's give and take, though. I still think you go back to LSU's team that won the national championship last year. Like, yes, they had Paul Skeens, who was a transfer and the best pitcher in the world right now. But you look at some of their best players that came up through there, and they were homegrown kids.
Yeah.
You look at Dylan Cruz, you look at their first baseman. You look at a lot of those dudes through there, man, that came up through the system, and then they supplemented it with some people on the outside. I think the temptation now is forget the high school kid and go recruit everybody out of the portal, because you can be old and you can be experienced and you can be more proven. I get that, but that's not how culture's built. And there's some people that will disagree with me on this, but ultimately I still think you can build a program. I still think culture matters.
Right.
I know there's people that don't, but that's the way I feel. So we're always going to build this thing from within. Right. I don't want to have 20 transfer kids coming in every year. I just think that's a recipe for a lot of turnover. That's a recipe for potentially a disaster to your culture. I still want this built from within with young pups. But this year, for instance, we added 7 guys out of the portal. There's teams in our league that added upwards of 20. We added 7, but man, those 7 are good. 6 of them are ranked in the top 60 on
Right.
6-4 analytics, but they're also just our type of kids.
Yeah.
They're kids that mostly we had connections to, whether it was a kid I recruited out of high school or a kid that the coach is calling saying, hey, I know you, this is your kind of dude, and then you start building that relationship with them. So it has changed, it has adjusted a little bit, but man, we're still, this place is still going to be built from within, and we're going to supplement that.
I like how you said it's tempting to go after that, because I think I'm a big Yankee fan. I've always has been, and when you look at their most success, when they had the core 4 guys that were all guys developed in the farm system, and then you start trading all these people away, and you look at, you can either buy all the guys in free agency and the veterans and pay them a bunch of money, or you can develop from within. There's only 2 ways of doing it.
No doubt.
And, right now, I think only Judge, they traded away all their guys other than Volpe and Judge and a few guys, like all those guys, Montgomery and Gary Sanchez, they got rid of them all. And it's really tough from a culture standpoint to do that. Let me ask you this, one other question about, as far as what suggestions you would have for me or a guy in my position, which is a guy that coaches pretty solid high school guys that have been hearing all of the frustrations from their players about, they used to be showing up at our games to watch us. Nobody's even watching. Where do I go? The adjustment that I've made so far, like right now, I'm over here at University of Alabama because guys are not be able to come to watch high school kids play that much during the summer, especially at the younger ages. I'm actually trying to bring my guys to them, here, to your front door. But the guys that I'm bringing are like top 100 kids in the country at their in their grad year. They might be a top 100 or 200 kid that maybe he's not a finished product, but he's going to be a guy that is going to be a pretty highly touted prospect out of high school. And then the guys that are below that, which are most people, trying to cast a bigger net and maybe get them to a mid-major or something that's lower. Like, would you think it's a good idea? And I've been telling my guys, I think it's not squashing your dream, but it's lowering the starting point, like lowering the ceiling of where you're starting. Because it's not, where you start and where you end is 2 different things. Would you say there's a suggestion for kids that they are extremely frustrated with how the rules change? Like, how would you think you would kind of base where you would be looking at for a potential program?
Man, I think the first thing is like, why are you playing this game? Are you playing it to get recruited? Because if you do, you're going to burn out and you're never going to end up being any good. Or do you just love playing, whether there's 50 colleges there or 0? Like, so why are you actually doing this is where I think it starts. And the best players we've ever coached, Matt Shaw will go down as one of the best players we've ever coached. And I hope I do this for a long time more.
Shout out Matt Shaw.
He's different, man. Like, but what makes Matty different is not just his ability. 2 things. Matty was one of the last kids we recruited in his class, one of the last ones. And we all knew he could hit. Nobody in the country thought he could play defense. It was us and one other school for him at the end. We were fortunate enough to get him. But that guy loved the process of playing. He loved the process of working. He loved doing hard things. He loved doing that stuff. And then you fast forward, that guy's going to be in the big leagues here in a month or so. He's wearing out AAA right now. So I think that's where it starts. But number 2, I think you're exactly right. I think it's just, man, I'm going to go out and be me. And I really think we can go back through the Mike Schwarns of the world, the Nick Dunns of the world, the Matt Shaws of the world. Some of the best players we recruit are the last kids we get in that class. It's crazy how that's happened. You get on these superstars early, and some of them some of them get drafted. Some of them show up at school and end up being everything you hope they would be. Some of them show up to school and they've never handled adversity because they've always been the best in that B player, which what I was as a player is what Coach Papio was a player. That B player learns that grit, learns that toughness, learns the work ethic it takes, and you fast forward, and those are the best college players. So I think doing exactly what you're talking about, I think getting on college teams, places that interest you, and just go be you. And I think junior college baseball is about to get really, really good. Obviously, there's all this litigation going on around the NCAA stuff. None of us really know. I know there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of facts out there. Bottom line is nobody knows where this is going outside of we all have a pretty good idea that rosters are going to shrink somewhat. So what that's going to do is there's going to be a trickle down to that. There's going to be Division II baseball is going to get a heck of a lot better. Mid-majors are going to get a heck of a lot better. Like junior college, D2, D3, NAI, there's just going to be good players everywhere.
Yeah.
So, man, I think the guys that love to play, I think there's something to the guy that's not the top 100 player as a freshman or sophomore, because it's really hard, man. It's really hard to keep your edge. We say it all the time, like, the hungry wolf fights harder, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot harder when you're at the top and everybody's telling you're the man and you're talking to all these schools every week and this and that. Man, it's really hard to keep that edge. Some kids can. It's really tough.
What I'm hearing you say basically is, regardless of where you start and regardless of how frustrated you are, in the end, good baseball players are rewarded. Just wanted to take a second and thank my guy, Rob Vaughn, over at University of Alabama. I call him Robert Redford. That's my nickname for him. Everybody got a nickname that I love. And super happy for you. And congratulations on all the success over here. I hope that I can find you a couple of guys in the future, like always, get you guys a couple of guys to come in and be some frontline impact guys. And we just want to say thank you. We're grateful for you letting us come and take the trip right here, right?
Heck yeah, man. I said it's about people. The biggest thing for you, Ferbs, and I tell anybody this, I know there's all the cool stuff, there's all this. You're real, man.
Thanks,
and like
brother.
your heart behind it is in the right spot for the kids and the right things. And it's my favorite thing about you, man. You're welcome anytime. We love you.
I appreciate it, man. Guys, that's a huge thing for the guys that are out there, is to just know that from the time that we met until now, one of the things that makes, I think, good relationships last is that you don't big league people.
No doubt.
You treat everybody the same, whether it's the guy that's cleaning up in the locker room or, you know what I mean, so the dean or whoever it is. So, guys, stay crispy out there. We'll be back.